support this report.
Honorable Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank the committee because they have done basically these audit reports for 23 institutions, and I'm reliably informed that they have actually done 96 institutions. 23 are the first ones, the rest are coming, and they'll be tabling these reports, and that shows basically an excellent job and good oversight, because this is one of the oversight committees of the House. Mr. Speaker, these reports are for 3 years, and I know that we need to, you know, fast track up to the recent, the last financial year, but I'm sure this committee is up to the task. I also want to thank Parliament in their wisdom of splitting this committee into 3, because when you look at the amount of workload, it means basically that when this work was being done by one committee, it was not possible to be able to do justice to all these reports and be able to present them on time. And so basically, by splitting the committee into 3, we have actually made Parliament more efficient, and that is, you know, quite a commendable issue. Mr. Speaker, the main issue here, and the main observations made by the committee, is that there seems to be elements of corruption. And, you know, corruption has been one of those songs that we have sung for the longest period. In fact, corruption is a song that cost lives of members of Parliament in this House years ago, just after independence, because there are those who do not want to hear people talk about corruption, because there are some who benefit strongly out of corrupt practices. Mr. Speaker, the 4 main issues that have come up. The first one is when you hear that some of those auditors in these institutions would delay responding to audit queries. Mr. Speaker, what that basically means to me is that when an audit query is raised and it takes longer, inordinately longer than normal to be able to respond, it probably means that these individuals are taking time to cook figures. And Mr. Speaker, that is really one of those very telling signs of people that are changing figures so that they can be able to pass the audit. So, Mr. Speaker, we must follow the law, and any time an audit query is raised, it must be answered quickly. But we also want to caution the Auditor General not to rush to publicize and to print out the audit queries, because every time there's an audit query, there's always an answer. He should be waiting till he gets the responses to the queries, then he can now be able to present the responses, and where they are unable to defend themselves, then that is what goes out there. Mr. Speaker, the second issue is the issue of ethnicity. And this seems to be a major problem. Mr. Speaker, it is not just in these state corporations that this problem is occurring. It is also at the national level, Mr. Speaker, because after the last election, and you know, inclusivity, which is one of the issues that we as Azimio are raising when we are having the talks with our counterparts. Inclusivity is one of the values and principles of Article 10 of our Constitution, which says that every corner of the country, every ethnic group must be involved in governance of this nation. And Mr. Speaker, when you find an institution where people that are operating there, all the top leadership is from one ethnic community in this country, that obviously smacks of corruption, that is nepotism, and that is against the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, none other than the Deputy President himself told us that Kenya is a company limited by shares, and that only those that voted for Kenya Kwanza will be able to benefit from the largesse of the government. Mr. Speaker, that means development, that means opportunities of employment. Mr. Speaker, that is why we have a problem, because we always get leadership that believes that when you win an election, then you have to benefit only your people and not the whole country. We must find a way to unite the country. Mr. Speaker, the other issue is the issue of projects taking too long, projects taking forever.
What is order, Honorable Owen Mbaya?
It's not in my place to stop my counterparts in the minority, but you see, when he makes statements that are not that are a figment of his imagination, that are not factual, we need to stop him in his tracks. The Deputy President was very clear about what he said, and he has clarified it many times that as long as you are a Kenyan, you are a shareholder in this country, and therefore you are entitled to all and sundry to the benefits of a government, and therefore to say things about the Deputy President and shares, I think you didn't hear properly. As long as you are a Kenyan, you are a shareholder in this government, and you have an opportunity to benefit. I thank you.
In fact, it was a point of information and correction. So, Honorable Mbui, proceed. Don't contradict your counterpart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will not go and put words in the Deputy President's mouth, because he spoke and we all heard. Mr. Speaker, the third issue is the issue of projects taking forever to be concluded. Now, there are several things that occur, because I hear like the Kenya National Examination Council building that has taken 37 years. Several things that will happen. One is that if it takes too long, there are penalties that are constantly charged for the delays. And obviously that means that by the time this project is finished, it is many times over in terms of the price. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, is that, you know, under the current regime, if this project was being managed in this manner, it would be relaunched like 6 times, Mr. Speaker, because, you know, I've realized that when a project takes too long, we can relaunch it over and over and over again. Maybe I would propose that Kenya Kwanza goes and relaunches this project that has taken 37 years, and hopefully maybe now it can be completed, because it has taken forever, Mr. Speaker. It has taken too many years. And let me say, it's not just here. We've also seen the parliamentary office under PSC. I mean, this building started ages ago. Members of parliament are still squeezing in another house. So we need to ensure that when we start a project, we finish it. But, Mr. Speaker, I think we may have an opportunity to make some changes in law. The Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act is very clear that if you're giving a contract, then you also have to have the money to be able to complete it. Now, what I think where the lacuna is that even under CDF, you're able to give a contract which gives a part of the project, and then you have the money available for that part only. Mr. Speaker, I think we must find a way to ring fence so that any contract given, there must be money that will be pumped into that department or that ministry for the number of years required for the project to continuously be done until completion. Because every time we do this, then Kenyans don't get value for money. But, Mr. Speaker, as the project is told, when it is 37 years incomplete, there are people who have made billions out of these projects. Consultants, contractors, you know, the banks. So, Mr. Speaker, I think it's one of those things that we need to address in a sober manner. Mr. Speaker, the issue of land that is not secured is also a major problem in the education sector. And it is very unfortunate, because this is one of the areas where land grabbers will take advantage. You had cases here in last parliament of land to do with some institution, a learning institution, I think in Ruaraka. We also had another one where some individuals were attempting to grab land for a primary school in Langata. In fact, the children of Langata were beaten and tear-gassed, Mr. Speaker, just like we are being tear-gassed every day when we are following the Constitution. So, Mr. Speaker, sometimes I ask myself, when mistakes occur, why don't we get to the bottom of it so that they don't recur again? If I ask anyone here what happened to the children of Langata Primary, what happened to the perpetrators of the violence against the children of Langata Primary because someone was attempting to grab the land that the children used as a playing field, no one will give you an answer. So, Mr. Speaker, we must, every time we have an opportunity as a house, we must get to the bottom of it. We must get a solution. Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to just say that EACC, the DCI, the DPP are paid taxpayers' money. They are independent institutions. They have a mandate that is clearly spelled out in the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. It is so unfortunate that every time you follow these institutions, some of them believe that they have to answer to other offices. And that is why you saw immediately after the last election, individuals who had criminal cases, who had civil cases, who had corruption cases, were dropped because of holding public office. Mr. Speaker, I think as a country, we must call a spade, and it doesn't matter which side of the political divide we are. I think Kenya is bigger than all of us. We must correct the ills of this country, and every time we get opportunity as members of parliament, irrespective of whether you are on the side of government or on the side of opposition, all of us have a mandate. We were elected to ensure that we oversight this government, we represent our people, and we make laws for posterity. So, Mr. Speaker, I support that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Robert Mbui. Let me, before I recognize the next speaker, recognize and welcome the following institutions to Parliament. St. Mary's Tabaka Girls from South Mugirango, Kisii County. Pilgrims Progressive School from my vocal constituency in Machakos and Yuri High School